Hey, what's going on, everybody? BDL44 coming at you with another video. All right, so here we are talking about the Atlanta Hawks versus the Cleveland Cavaliers in Cleveland, Ohio tonight. That game is going to be 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 my time Pacific, and Jared Allen. That's going to be the question. Jared Allen and Bogdanovich on the Hawks side. Is Bogdanovich going to be able to go because he's questionable with an ankle, and he's been lethal pretty much for the last several, really all year long, really. He's very capable of lighting you up for 30 plus points and being extremely deadly, stretching the floor for the Hawks. Without him, they have plenty of weapons, but those weapons are going to have to be effective tonight. It's a winner take all situation. So, what you don't want is shuffling of the lineup in a single game situation. You want as much stability as humanly possible. Now, the Cleveland Cavaliers, obviously, on the other hand, have a similar dynamic in the sense that they're considering bringing Jared Allen back into the fold tonight, which is a very good idea if he can go. He hasn't played since, I believe, early March 3rd, I think is what it said, or March 6th. And, he's been out with a broken finger. But we thought he would be able to give it a go in the previous game, which was a playing game against the Nets. He wasn't able to do it, but they said he's going to try to do it tonight. We'll see what they do in terms of his minutes. We'll see what he can give them, and if he's his regular self, that can change things a little bit. I think at the end of the day, though, I think most people are writing the Cavs off because they're assuming the Cavs are coming in hobbled without Allen, and they're not considering that twin tower shot blocking effect that could be on the floor tonight for the Cavaliers. I don't think people really understand how much of a different team the Cavaliers are with Jared Allen, a part of what it is that they're doing in that paint, with a healthy Mobley, with a healthy Markkanen. That dynamic is an entirely different dynamic than what they have without Allen. That's double the rim protection. Problem is with rim protection against the Hawks, this is Trae Young. He's going to do teardrops all night long. It doesn't matter if he's standing in front of trees or not. He's going to get his numbers. He's going to get his shot off. And with Bogdanovich not being out there, it's going to be on him to be even more of himself, do even more of what it is that he just naturally does anyway. And the rhythm he's in, the way he's been playing, and with what's on the line, just like I said in the previous game he was a part of against Charlotte, I'll say it here tonight. It's hard not to envision him being the person successful on this, on the successful end of this situation, just given how much of a killer and how he takes over games. The whole game will be about him if he decides to make it so, and that's going to be the thing. Who can offset that on the other end for the Cleveland Cavaliers? Now we know Cleveland Cavaliers have plenty of weapons. You consider DG, Darius Garland, All-Star, first-time All-Star this year. He's somebody who should be able to say something about it. That's somebody with the talent and the ability to match Trae Young bucket for bucket on his best night. And he's going to have to, because that's exactly what the situation entails. Darius Garland's going to have to be ready for this big playoff-type moment. Evan Mobley as well. Evan Mobley is such a gifted player. We talked about many times he's like Anthony Davis in the sense that they both have a similar body type and they both are highly effective defensive players without fouling. And they have a very special metric, very special. I guess you can call it a metric or a stat that only they share in regards to that specific thing. So he's going to be important tonight, doing that very thing, being defensive and not fouling, staying on the floor. Because Jared Allen, if he's able to give them something, who knows what rhythm he'll be in, who knows how much of himself he'll be. It's going to be important for Mobley to be himself, simply be himself, and give them 4 quarters of full basketball. He can't get in foul trouble, and he can't have an off night. So yeah, the pressure's on for this Cleveland Cavalier team. Even though the game is in their house, at the end of the day, they're running into a very, very serious monster in that Trae Young guy. He is a problem, a real one. I'm looking at a guy like Kevin Love in a game like this. Obviously, he's a person with experience on that Cleveland Cavalier team. He knows what this moment needs in terms of intensity. and how to meet it and match it. And I think that that's what's going to be necessary if he has a big game that could go poorly for the Hawks. Caris Levert is somebody who's extremely important in this game. Him being aggressive in this game is ever so important because the Hawks have a lot of weapons, but what they don't have is two very important starters potentially. Collins is a no-go, and obviously, as we mentioned, Bogdanovic is questionable. So anytime I hear questionable, and this is my mentality if I were a coach, if I know a player's questionable, I'm attacking him defensively. That's a bad ankle. Which ankle is it? That one? Yeah, we're putting our most attacking first step player on him. We're going to make sure we put all types of mismatches on him. We're going to bump him. We're going to run him off of screens. We're going to make him feel that ankle all game long because it's a one-game situation. So in my mind, I'm going to find what your weakness is, and I'm going to try to attack it, exploit it, or what have you. And I think that's what the Cavaliers have an opportunity to do tonight, especially if Jared Allen's able to play. That length, that size, Jared Allen's ability to get easy buckets, Jared Allen's ability to play weak side defense, allowing more shot blocking capability for the Cleveland Cavaliers, that can make them a team that's pretty much capable of winning one game at home against a Hawks team that's undermanned. And so I think most people think the Hawks are going to win. I lean toward the Hawks winning too, just because, like I said, it's Trae Young. But Clint Capella is going to be important tonight. Onyeka Okongwu is going to be important tonight. Dalanero Gallinari is going to be especially important tonight without Bogdanovic shooting the ball. Delon White is a player who played very well in the play-in tournament, previous one. He's going to have to play well tonight in Bogdanovic's potential absence. I'm of the mindset that the Hawks have plenty of talent on their bench. I personally started this, beginning of the summer with my video talking about the Hawks, saying that I felt that they were one of the deepest, if not the deepest team in all of basketball. And the reason being is because they have high-level rookies and high-level players on the back of their team. When you consider, you got guys like Lou Williams sitting on the back of their bench, Sharif Cooper, a fantastic facilitator and somebody who I think is a big playmaker and somebody who's going to make others better on that Hawks team. Johnson, I believe his name is Justin Johnson, if I'm not mistaken, power forward who lit it up in the summer league. I know for a fact is an easy bucket getter and somebody who would average a double-double in this league if given the opportunity to. This season, he probably would be one of the best rookies if he were just in a better situation to overall play. But there's so many players in front of those players that they just never get a chance to see what it is that those players do. A guy like Delon White makes it so that you never see how much of a showman Sharif Cooper is. He's one of the most exciting players in basketball, and you don't know it at all. But I do, because I scouted him. And so I'm telling you guys that the Hawks, in a one-game situation, they're a dangerous team. They're very dangerous. Because if Coach decides to call Johnson's number and give him the minutes that he should have, he's going to catch the Cleveland Cavaliers off guard. They're not going to even see him coming. A guy like Sharif Cooper can go off and have like 7 or 8 assists off the bench if you just give him the minutes. He's going to do that just by default of his skill set. Now, granted, he has a long way to go, and that's why he doesn't get the playing time in terms of making him a player that you can trust to shoot and play D and all that stuff. Yeah. But certain people have gifts. And I'm telling you, some of those players that you're not going to see tonight on the back of that Hawks bench, they have gifts. And 2 or 3 years from now, they're going to be on other teams doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And you're going to remember that they could have played a couple minutes in this play-in tournament game and may have made the difference between winning or losing. But, that's just not what you're thinking about. Right now, you're thinking about Trae Young. Right now, you're thinking about that functionality of the Hawks. And I just feel like the Hawks are a team, and I said this at the trade deadline, they're just a team that's missing opportunities. I don't think the Hawks, they don't appear to understand what they actually have in terms of their assets. Because they could have traded Sharif Cooper. They could have traded Justin Johnson. And they could have brought them a player that would have helped them be so much better than they are today. Someone that would have complimented them in such a way where they would have had to Shot blockers that could overcome everything. Not to say that Onyeka Okongwu ain't that good, and because he is, but I'm saying like they could have made themselves different as opposed to being a play-in tournament team if they would have shuffled those assets in such a way that have made this team more complementary to Trae Young, because he's somebody you can believe in. He's somebody you can get 40 minutes out of, and he's going to drag you all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. He proved that last year. What he doesn't need is a bunch of players behind him that are so damn talented that you never get an actual opportunity to see them get the most out of themselves to overall make his team better. You see what I'm saying? So I just felt like this is one of those situations where I think the Hawks have way more assets than they are aware of. And I think they can do a lot more with those assets that could have made this situation so much better for themselves. So that's just my take on the Hawks. It's been my take on the Hawks all year. I think they're probably going to win this game on the road in Cleveland because Trae Young is that dude. And if it comes down to a close situation, I do expect that he's going to outdo DG. But the Cleveland Cavaliers have some big players and some excellent defensive players that can very easily win this game at home for themselves. So I'm kind of on the fence. I would not be surprised if this goes into overtime. I think the team that plays the best defense will win this game. And judging by what I'm thinking about in regards to the defensive players on both sides, I'm almost inclined to think the team that's going to play better defense is Cleveland, especially at home, given the fact that Jared Allen is playing to whatever capacity, who knows. But, yeah, Clint Capella, Onyeka Okongwu, I'm looking at those bigs. You got to deal, if they do put in Jared Allen, he can't have a big game. He's got to look like he's been out for a month. If he comes in dominating you guys and they get off to an early start, Cleveland jumps on an early start and gets that crowd behind him, Trae Young ain't going to be enough to overcome. So, for whatever that's worth, man, I'm gonna stick to my guns and trust the heroics of Trae Young and Onyeka Okongwu and those guys that are going to do just enough on the road. Man, it looks crazy. But I just feel like they have the better player, But I tell you this, Evan Mobley, man. Evan Mobley, he's going to be the rookie of the year. If he can tap into his greatest self and have the best game possible. And mind you, he's better when Allen's on the floor. This could be a very difficult night for the Hawks, especially if Bogdanovich doesn't play. So, I don't know, man. The more I'm talking myself into Cleveland. As you guys can very well see, I'm talking myself into Cleveland. Atlanta's normally a better better team. But if they don't have Bogdanovich out there, it's going to be a lot riding on coach to put the right people on the floor at the right moments, shuffle that lineup properly. So, I don't know. Kevin Love, DG, Allen. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to win, man. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm talking about it. I'm like, Trae Young, but I don't know. When I break this down in real time, the more I think about it, if Allen plays and he's himself, that's a lot for the Hawks to handle. Those bigs are good, but that's a lot to handle. It's all about Clint Capella dominating that position. Clint's going to have to dominate the position. He's going to have to win that battle against Jared Allen. They're going to have to respect that length that he and Mobley provide. Then I look at it and I say, man, they got somebody coming off the bench. You look at some of those defenders. Okoro is going to be big in this game. You think about Rondo, who played with the Hawks a little bit last year, who knows a little bit of what they do. This is a sneaky game. Hawks on the road. I would feel a lot better if this game was in Atlanta. But I just know how Trae Young is. When he's on the road, he's in a playoff situation. I remember how his heroics were in New York and how he enjoyed, quieting the crowd. And I just feel like he wakes up for these situations. And he's going to have to. They're going to need a massive game out of him. So I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to do it. I'm going to stick with the Hawks on the road to win the play-in tournament game in a tight one, maybe even overtime. But I'm telling you, nothing would surprise me about a Cleveland Cavalier victory here. Looking at the way this thing is set up, especially if Allen plays, they could very easily take a game at home and make the playoffs. But I know most people don't have them winning, so I'm just gonna stick to my guns too, and just go with the Hawks as well. Roll with the herd, but I'll tell you, they're gonna need Bogdanovich to play, and they're gonna need him to score as he normally does. They can't have a hobbled Bogdanovich halfway defending and all that stuff. That a guy like Caris Levert will take advantage of a matchup like that and eat a lot. So yeah, looking forward to this one. It's gonna be exciting, man. BDF 44. I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.